Down.
You need medical here now? I got officer down. Copy. Hurry up, get up here.
A Colorado Springs police officer shot in the line of duty.
Sadly, this is becoming the norm.
The suspect's in custody as the officer fights for his life. Here at noon, complete coverage from the scene.
Got another afternoon of storms in the forecast. I'll let you know who has the best chance of seeing that umbrella weather coming up.
You're watching KRDO News Channel 13, where the news comes first. Your news starts right now.
Our top story at noon, officer down in Colorado Springs. A police officer was shot while responding to a call early this morning. This is chopper video of the scene. The officer identified as 5-year veteran Jem Duzel with the Sand Creek Division. We have yet to learn the name of the suspect, who was also shot.
Now here's a map of the area where the events took place. We know a lot of it happened near Platte Avenue and Union Boulevard, so we want to get right to it. Our noon news team is live on the ground with the latest on the investigation and the officer's condition. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm John Carroll.
And I'm Shannon Brinius. You're watching KRDO News Channel 13, and we're also live on the air on KRDO News Radio.
We've been following that developing news for you all morning, and we're first live on the scene.
KRDO News Channel 13's Danny Freed and photojournalist Peter Miller have been there since 4 this morning. Danny joining us live, giving us all the details right now. Danny?
Well, John and Shannon, of course, this is still an incredibly active scene. If you joined us earlier this morning, it really doesn't look much different than it did earlier around 4 or 5, even 6 o'clock. I'm going to step out of the shot for you just to show you what we're looking at. We actually moved from where we were earlier this morning right now in the location that we are across the street on Union. Here we can see still these tactical teams working on this investigation, trying to figure out exactly what happened here. We've learned that Officer Jem Duzel is in critical condition and underwent surgery, but we do want to walk you through what has happened between the moment we first arrived and now.
Order shots fired in the area. At the same time, the security guard at 101 South Union is calling in saying they heard shots fired in the area as well.
2:45 and several reports of shots fired had Colorado Springs police officers rushing to the scene off Bonfoy and Boulder.
The male was firing random shots in the area. He had a gun in his waistband.
It was only moments later when officers arrived to the scene that shots rang out once again and the horror began.
You need medical here now? I got officer down. Hurry up, get up here. You got a gunshot wound to the head. Get him here now.
The suspect not far also shot, sustaining a non-life-threatening injury.
Suspect is hit as well. Suspect is here. He's on the ground. We're here with him now. I don't know where he's at yet. Don't move.
When we arrived, we were kept back from the initial crime scene, still piecing together what little information we could gather. It wasn't until 4:45 that Jackie Kirby with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office confirmed an officer had been hit, was in critical condition, and was undergoing surgery. The scene was then being combed over by the Sheriff's Office's Deadly Force Investigation Team.
We will process the scene just like we would anything else, and that will interview the witnesses, and that will give us a better picture and understanding of what happened today.
That officer, Jem Duzel, a 5-year veteran of the force.
It's very, very hard. You know, we've got people on scene that, put on their badge every day. They serve and protect this community, and they know that one of their brother in arms is now critically injured, and they've still got to press on and do their job and protect the community.
And as you guys know, of course, this is a very active and continuing investigation. Police are still here on scene, along with the Sheriff's Office that has already taken over this investigation. CSPD as well as Colorado State Patrol are here. They definitely are waiting. It seems like officers are really just waiting to hear how Officer Duzel is doing, what his condition is, as are we. So we'll keep you posted as soon as we learn more. John and Shannon.
Okay, Danny, thanks for that report.
Well, we want to go straight to KRDO News Channel 13's Crystal Story. She's at UC Health Memorial Hospital for an update on Officer Duzel's condition. Crystal, what have you found out?
Hey, good afternoon, John and Shannon. We've been here all morning. We got the initial call this morning learning that Officer Duzel was at the hospital undergoing surgery. As of right now, that's still what we know, that he is undergoing surgery. We have not heard if he's made it out. But of course, we want to show you what he looks like. Here is Jem Duzel. It's a picture from his Facebook profile. We know that he came into the hospital after being shot and immediately into surgery in critical condition. We're not sure what kind of injuries he sustained. That is still still unclear, but the crime scene was just a few blocks away from the hospital, so we have high hopes. Again, this is what Chief Pete Carey told us about Officer Duzel this morning.
When officers arrived on scene, they encountered an armed suspect and there was an exchange of gunfire. Jem Duzel, a 5-year veteran of the Colorado Springs Police Department, was critically wounded. He sustained a gunshot wound. This has been an extremely difficult year with law enforcement officers being hurt or killed, in particular in our region. Please keep Officer Duzel, his family, and the Colorado Springs Police Department in your thoughts and prayers.
Now, as of right now, we still don't have any update on whether or not that surgery was successful, and it's unclear when we're going to get another update on Officer Duzel. But we're going to be right here at UC Health Hospital all day, hoping for that update and hoping for, of course, the best outcome. Earlier, we talked about how many police officers have come by. We just saw a few officers leave the area, and we're not sure if any more are going to come and show their support for their brother in arms. In Colorado Springs, Crystal Story, KRDO News Channel 13.
It is a somber day all across Colorado. Thank you, Crystal. Now, the area where this took place is due east of the Olympic Training Center off of busy Union Boulevard. Now, the area that has been cordoned off where investigators are investigating is roughly about 8 blocks right here. St. Vrain on to the north, Union off to the west. Platte Avenue is one of the borders, as is Prairie. And this map gives an overview, but we've got helicopter footage to give us an even better idea of just what went down at Bonfoy and Boulder as we continue our breaking news coverage.
Down below, this bird's eye view shows the eerie scene where Officer Jem Duzel and a suspected gunman shot it out. From a distance, leafy treetops indicate the kind of neighborhood where an armed suspect stood out, prompting calls to 911. Very quickly after the shooting, the blocks were cordoned off as the sheriff's office brought in its major crimes unit, specially equipped RV, to take over. From this vantage point, it's difficult to discern the smaller details, the shell casings and bits of clothing, but investigators would be readying to perform grid searches to discover anything pertinent. Down below, somber faces of Springs officers who have dealt all too often with violence in their midst as they stand ready to make statements on what they saw, heard, and did. Meanwhile, residents and others trying to get in or out were hurried along so they wouldn't compromise the investigation scene. A flatbed tow truck is brought in so that the officers' cars could be taken to a more secure spot in case evidence needs to be preserved. From the air, this could be any other day, belying the intensity of efforts of those on the ground to collect facts and evidence to lay out the chain of events that put 2 people in the hospital.
Now, many people in this Colorado Springs neighborhood woke up to crime scene tape right in front of their homes this morning. Neighbors now learning that it was because of that officer shooting. KRDO News Channel 13's Alexis Dominguez is speaking to people in the area about what they've seen, and she joins us now. Alexis?
Well, Shannon, today people have had mixed reactions. People who live here say they're surprised it happened so close to home, while those who live around here say this has never happened in the neighborhood and they're hoping it doesn't happen again. People in this neighborhood expected to wake up to their normal day, but instead say that hasn't been the case.
Woke up around 4 to a bunch of lights and commotion going on.
Megan Rosman now knows Officer Jem Duzel was shot while investigating a call to several gunshots being fired, though she says she never heard any.
Just a lot of commotion down the alleyway. We're literally like stone's throw away from where it happened, and we didn't hear any gunshots.
Others, like Anthony Rivera, just trying to make it into work, but instead was greeted by crime scene tape and police blocking off the intersection.
Traffic was blocked off from down there on Union all the way down here to the Prairie.
Duzel isn't the first officer to be shot in Colorado this year, making neighbors here nervous.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. It's getting kind of bad if it's happening all the time, you know.
It's kind of scary. I don't think there's enough officers to control what's going on. The amount of people moving into Colorado Springs in general.
Some even put flags out in their front yard as a reminder that they support those who work hard to protect them. And like I said, people who live here say it's unusual for the neighborhood, and they're just hoping they don't see violence like this again. Live in Colorado Springs, Alexis Dominguez, KRDO News Channel 13.
All right, Alexis, we know you're busy out there gathering more information. We'll let you get to it. Many people driving or walking past the crime scene this morning hadn't heard about the shooting of the Springs policeman.
Others had heard about it while getting ready for work or on their way to work. KRDO News Channel 13 Scott Harrison continues our team coverage with reaction to the officer's shooting. Scott, what have you heard?
Well, guys, behind me on the east side of the crime scene, you can see the crime tape that goes around part of this block and in front of a house there. That crime scene tape was just put up a minute ago. So this crime scene apparently is getting wider now, covering more territory, more work for the police officers to have to do. Now, for people around this crime scene, there were two common emotions today. One, sadness because of the violence that has Officer Duzel fighting for his life right now just down the street at Memorial Hospital, and also surprise that many people were just learning of it this morning on the way to work. Let's take you to video from earlier this morning, as there was a lot of confusion for people going around the crime scene. Now, traffic congestion at Platt and Union and at Boulder and Union, both closed for the shooting investigation, frustrated many people, making it a challenge for vehicles to turn and for pedestrians to cross the street. But that frustration quickly turned to concern for Officer Duzel when it became known that he is critically injured after investigating a report of a man firing a gun.
For me, it's very awful because this area here is very quiet and I love to live here. And just an officer to be shot, that's not a good thing for us here. It's not really safe.
No way.
That's what happened. So,
it was the officer?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Yeah, that's tragic. I don't know what to say.
Gotta be careful in this neighborhood.
Yeah. It used to be a good neighborhood.
Now, many people passing through the area and hadn't heard about the shooting say they thought the police activity was because of a parade or road construction, but most of them now know what happened here this morning. And people we spoke with also took time to thank the officers who responded to that call of shots fired, thanking Officer Duzel and his comrades, and also asking that for prayers and thoughts for the officer and his family during this difficult time. We're live around the crime scene of the officer shooting in Colorado Springs. Scott Harrison, KRDO News Channel 13.
All right, Scott, thank you. And once again, here's a map of the area where the events took place. We know it happened near Platt Avenue and Union Boulevard. It was a moving scene as police closed in on this man apparently wandering the neighborhood and firing shots. Now, here's a sky view of the scene this morning. Don't go anywhere. We will continue with our live reports coming up at 12:30. Much more to hear on this story. And as always, you can find the latest details on this shooting on our website, krdo.com.